Hello and welcome back to TechnoSurgeon YouTube channel. So AMD launched 2 weeks before the Radeon RX 7700 with 2560 cores and 16 GB of VRAM, which is interesting because their low end or high end 7700 XT also doesn't comes with 16 GB of VRAM. It comes with just 12 GB of VRAM, and it is pretty interesting card. As you can see on the screen here, 7700 gets you upwards of 60 frames in ray tracing, so it's pretty good for the price point at which has been launched. And right now we have all of the cards from 7000 series, and the interesting thing is it's 7000 series, it's not 9000 series, which is an interesting move. It is now with 32 16 GB of RAM. It's RDNA 3, it's not even RDNA 4. So yeah, I don't know why they did it, but yeah, it has been launched. As you can see on the screen here, the product page is live. It is targeting 1440p, which is to be expected at ultra, and these are all the things which comes from AMD. So yeah, the thing is, RDNA 3, why RDNA 3? They should make RDNA 4, but yeah, it is what it is. Lastly for today, in a massive news, again this is a massive news because after Microsoft bought Bethesda or ZeniMax, it was a biggest thing, but now this is the second biggest thing in semiconductor industry, as Nvidia and Intel has announced jointly developed Intel Arc x86 RTX SoC for PC with Nvidia graphics. Yeah, you heard it right. Intel and AMD, not Intel and AMD, Intel and Nvidia is working together. Also, custom Nvidia data center x86 processor. Nvidia buys $5 billion in Intel stock in seismic deal, which is pretty interesting. Like, we know Nvidia is going all in with processors. Their Grace CPU is coming, but it is based on ARM, and now Nvidia is not stopping. They had partnered with Intel and they literally bought like 5% of the market share of Intel. Yeah, it's just 5%. So Nvidia will get a sit in the board, but it won't affect Intel that much. But this this is an interesting move because Intel was collapsing and now Nvidia has saved it. As you can see, two long-time rivals working together, Nvidia and Intel announced today that the company will jointly develop multiple new generation x86 products together. And as you can see, Nvidia will buy $5 billion in Intel common stock at 23.28 per share dollars, representing a 5% ownership stake in Intel. Intel stock is now 33% in pre-market trading. And what will this joint partnership entail is going to be. Nvidia emphasized that the companies are committed to multi-generation roadmaps for the co-developed product, which represent a strong investment in the x86 ecosystem. But Nvidia representatives tell us it also remains fully committed to other announced product roadmaps and architecture, including the company's ARM-based GB Grace Blackwell processor for workstation, which is indeed coming, and the Nvidia Grace CPUs for data center, as well as next generation Vera CPUs, and it is coming soon. And Nvidia hasn't disclosed whether it will use Intel Foundry to produce any of these products yet. However, while Intel has used TSMC to manufacture some of its own products, its goal is to bring production of most high performance product back to its own foundries. Interesting move. And for instance, the Intel existing Granite Net data center processors use Intel 3 node, and the upcoming Clearwater Forest Xeon will use 18A process node for compute. But yeah, it is interesting move. And also for the PC market, the Intel x86 RTX SoC is in the works. Yeah, you heard it right. Intel is going to basically like drop the XE graphics, and they are just going to like make an APU with Nvidia. Interesting move. And will come with an x86 CPU chiplet tightly connected with an Nvidia RTX GPU chiplet via the NVLink interface. And I know what you're thinking, like AMD has an APU, but AMD has tight ecosystem with Ryzen and Radeon, that's why they work fine. And now you're thinking Intel and Nvidia will have like two different GPU architecture and CPU architecture, how will they communicate it? Because if you do it, Intel had tried to implement it previously, but it had its issues because Intel was focusing on firmwares for Intel CPUs and Nvidia was focusing on GPU drivers. But here that NVLink interface comes. This type of processor will have CPU and GPU unit merged into one compact chip package that internally looks much as a standard CPU, rivaling AMD's competing APU. And the thing is, this NVLink is more faster compared to previous generation, as it will up to 14 times more bandwidth along with lower latency than PCI, NVIDIA's new CPU to GPU communication. As you can see, this is how it will look like internally, and also there is various other things. As you can see, Intel has worked on a similar type of chip before the AMD. There is at least one significant technical difference between these initiatives. However, Intel launched its Kaby Lake G chip in 2017 with an Intel processor fused into the same package as an AMD Radeon GPU chiplet, much as the description of the new Nvidia Intel chip. You can see an image of AMD and Intel implementation, but yeah, at that time it was not that good because AMD was focusing on drivers and Intel was focusing on CPU drivers, and it was like a complete mess up. And along with it, Intel will also be developing Xeon processors. Nvidia will help, of course. Nvidia will fabricate custom x86 data center CPUs for Nvidia, which Nvidia will then sell as its own product to enterprise and data center customers. However, the entirety and extent of the modification are currently unknown, which is to be expected. And yeah, it's an interesting move. Two competitors are working together, and yeah, it's pretty interesting move and pretty interesting thing that happened in the tech world at this current point of time. But yeah, that's it from me today. What do you think about the news? Sound off your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll meet you in the next one. Peace out.